Welcome to the Midnight Entrepreneur. I'm your host, Easton Bennett, alongside my fellow co-host, Tyler Sinden. We are both entrepreneurs who are learning, growing, and building our own businesses. Our goal is to share our experience and knowledge to help you grow and become a successful entrepreneur. Strap in. Before we get started, if you have any questions or things you'd like us to cover, you can email us at themidnightentrepreneur@gmail.com. And if you want to hang out with us, send us a message and let's put together a meetup.
Sounds good.
Yeah, that we could do that. Tyler, what's going on? Also, I think for the intro, I feel like I got to start saying that strap in after I say everything. The strap in right in the middle. I feel like that's just
probably.
I'm going to change
That
it.
makes sense.
I'm going to change it right now.
Oh, it's because you ended up moving that one part to the beginning. But I was just thinking, when was the last time you checked the email? Because it's been a while for me.
I don't know if I've ever checked the email.
Oh,
so
it's just been me.
Yeah. So if you guys have been emailing us,
yeah, it's been a while.
Whoops.
It's been a while. I'll check it.
They're like, we're trying to get into that Discord. I'm like, no.
We've got like millions of emails in there. We'll have to check it.
Very might be. Yeah, we'll check it this week and get back to you guys.
Yeah. What's going on with you?
Not a whole lot. I know you can't see it, Tyler, but I got my feet thrown up on a chair here, so I'm really comfortable for this episode, and hopefully that doesn't put you to sleep. But yeah, we're here filming on a Sunday. Another thing I'd like to say, we got to get back to those middle of the week filming schedules. I think it's got to happen this week because I will be in Bismarck this weekend for WDA basketball, and we're getting her done. I mean, the episodes are getting out there, but it's always good when we get a film in the middle of the week. So, other than that, had some projects this last week. This last Thursday, I shot a project. I got a call from a guy that I connected with who was in Denver, Colorado, and he said, "Hey, we're flying up to Minot. Do you have anybody on your contact list that knows how to skate and can operate a camera?" And I told him, I am just your man. I can do both of those things. So they flew out. They had a 3-day production. And I think it was actually maybe a 4-day production. They had a 4-day production. And one of the days I was there as their on-ice camera operator. So that was pretty exciting and really cool to work with those guys. Probably the best part of the whole entire production was they were using a Teradek. Tyler, do you know what a Teradek is?
No clue.
So Teradek is a wireless transmitter that goes on the back of the camera, and then it goes on the back of another monitor so they can see what I'm filming while I'm on the ice, almost like a director's monitor. So that was pretty cool. We also were using comms, just headsets we had on so we could talk to each other while I was on the ice and they could direct me the shots.
Walkie-talkies.
So pretty much, yeah, it's glorified walkie-talkies. And it was super fun because I just met these guys that day and we were like making jokes in the headset and like I just kept singing to them. It was funny. So yeah, it almost made me want to buy some of those headsets. I don't have too many projects where I would actually have to use them and speak to a camera operator because normally I'm the camera operator. It's always good to have, if someone's a ways away from you, whether maybe they're taking photos or they're doing audio or something. So I really want to order those now, and the wireless transmitter to be able to view the actual monitor of the camera operator. But yeah, it's pretty cool. That was fun. They were directing me on the ice. Hey, we want this shot. We want you to pan up to here. So it's kind of cool.
Nice. When I was doing wedding videos, the first year I think he maybe brought it, like took it away halfway through, or I don't know when it was, but when I did start out for doing the weddings, he did have the walkie-talkie like in the ears, and then you'd also have to like pinch your, I don't know, it's like the I don't know what it was, the voice part, you'd have to like pinch over here, and then they'd look like they're Secret Service type of people. But then he ended up getting rid of it, and it's just like you got to like focus. It's like communication's huge.
Yep.
It's like look at each other like periodically throughout the wedding, and give little thumbs up or head nods, but just constant communication. That's always a big part.
Yeah, it's super cool having those. I could see where the chest thing might get in the way a little bit. But yeah, it was cool using them, and communication is key. So I'm definitely going to add those to my kit eventually. Maybe if I start doing some more projects where they're actually needed. But for now, I don't think so. I think the wireless Teradek would be cooler because, now working with Matt, sometimes he's on a project where he's directing a little bit and I'm more so shooting. So if he can be able to see that while I'm shooting. It'd be kind of cool to have. Other than that, the big project that I was working on, flying all over the country, they have released a trailer for the film. So that was kind of cool to see all of the footage that we've been shooting. It's probably okay to name the company now, Tyler, right?
I don't know. It's an NDA.
I don't know.
You're the one that signed your life away.
Yeah, I don't exactly know what it means. I didn't read the thing, but I don't know. I'm just kind of. If you go to my Instagram, guys, you can see it. This is a plug for the Instagram. Easton Bennett 2. It's probably not on there anymore. DM me. I will send you the link to the trailer. I don't know, because if I said anything on the podcast before that would be compromising, I guess. I don't know. I'm just better safe than sorry.
The one time you said it, you're like, I'm going to have to beep that out. So I'm not sure if you beeped it out or not.
What was I saying?
That's on you.
I wasn't saying anything bad
said the
about
company
it, right?
name. No,
Yeah.
you just said the company name, and you're like, I was like, are you allowed to say that? And you're like, I don't know. I'll just beep it out after. So I don't know if you actually did.
Have I given details on what the documentary is for? Like the actual end goal behind it?
I don't even know. So I would assume no.
I'll just keep teasing the people. It's better safe than sorry.
Okay.
If you guys want, DM me on Netflix. I'll share it with you.
Is it more of the
Or not Netflix.
propaganda?
No, it's just more so if I said any information on the podcast about what the film is and why they're making the film, then I don't want to name the company, because then it's like, oh, there's a film coming out exactly because of this. But now that, I don't know, now that it's out, it's out into the world. So it's not like, fuck it, whatever. It is Beyond Meat. They are coming out with Beyond 4. That's in the trailer. Beyond 4, their fourth iteration of their products. And they just came out with the trailer on all of the footage that we filmed. And I think it's at 100,000 views on YouTube so far, which is pretty cool.
Is that what the NDA was about?
Yeah.
It was about the product as opposed to the company?
Well, I mean, the company, I can't share any of their trade secrets or anything, but it's not like I know them. But yeah, I mean, I think it's okay to share it. The lady I was working with, she was excited for me to share it with my network and to post it on my story and said, spread the word. So yeah, I don't think there's any issues. Probably just being a little bit too cautious. But yeah, they've released the film. It's a 3.5 minute trailer on the film that will premiere this summer on Beyond 4. We've interviewed a bunch of world-renowned nutritionists and health experts and people from large health institutions, I guess you could say, the American Cancer Society, American Diabetes Association, all that fun stuff. So yeah, it's out there. The film's going to be coming this summer. If you guys want to check it out, go check it out. They're pretty excited about the actual numbers that it was getting. I think they said it was one of the bigger projects that they've had in the recent number of years as far as views go and publicity goes. So kind of cool to see some of the footage that I've shot. They also did a interview on CNBC or CNBC, I think it was. And it's cool to see some of my footage on TV of the actual footage and their products and them cooking it and everything. So that I know I can say because it was literally on CNBC. So
cool.
Yeah. So that's
cool
exciting. And it's cool to see that.
Yeah. I don't want to say anything about the company because it's not going to be good, but I'm excited for you and happy for all the stuff that you did there. Yeah.
And there's definitely it's a plant-based company for those of you that don't know. And if you're vegan or vegetarian, great alternative. I'm personally not a vegan or vegetarian, so it's not like I'm going to push that narrative down your throat, but I think they're doing good things for that demographic. It's just really whichever way you lean. So, if you're a heavy vegan and you're like, I want a plant-based product, might be for you. Me personally, it's going to be really hard to get me to stop eating steak and eggs and bacon.
I'm having steak tonight.
Yeah.
Oh, I eat bacon every day.
I had Philly cheesesteak.
And eggs.
I had Philly cheesesteak yesterday and I had bacon this morning. So yeah, it's going to be hard for me. But for the people that choose not to be animal-based, it's an awesome company. So other than that, having this team, my last update here before we get into you, Tyler, having a team that, working with Matt, who's working on the sales, client communication, pre-production, having some people that are working on the photo side of things, having an audio guy, it's really allowing me to be more strict with my processes, where now that I'm sending these online invoices, I feel less bad about saying, hey, you have to pay this. Like, we're running a business here. I don't know if internally I feel like there's a lot of moving parts. And there's really no more excuses. Whereas before, it was a one-man team, it was just me, and I might be like, okay, yeah, just whenever you get the invoice. But now that there's, bills come, I'm paying people, I'm paying invoices and contractors. Now it's like, hey, we can't, we gotta figure this out. So it's kind of cool to see. Makes it feel more like we talked about last week, more like a business rather than just creating a job for myself.
Yeah, that's really interesting because Andy talks a lot about that, where he says he doesn't need to show up every day, but he realizes that he has all these people that work for him. And if he doesn't show up, he's not going to be able to provide for them. So now he has these people that he needs to provide for. Whereas before, maybe you were fine. You're like, I have money. It's just going to be coming to me. It'll come in eventually. But now it's like, okay, now I got these. Now you got bills on your bills to pay. And it's like, okay. And I got people's lives that depend on me. And I think the bigger team that you grow out, it's like, okay, they depend on me and like they're working for me. So it's completely different.
Yeah, for sure. And it sucks. I mean, one invoice I've sent right now, it's like 9 days overdue. And now I'm to the point where I feel like a dick sending reminders, but I'm a thorn in this client's side. I'm like, hey, we have to get this paid. We can't, like, what's going on? And 2 weeks ago, basically said, yeah, I'll get this paid this week. So I gave him, I said, okay, I'll give him the week. If I don't, I'm going to hound him. So last week I sent a reminder on Monday, sent a reminder on Wednesday, sent a reminder on Friday. And tomorrow morning we're going to be sending some messages. So, yeah, I mean, it's
Not
like
show up at their door.
Yeah. Well, it's like, it's getting to that point where it's like, hey, what's going on? You said this would be paid. Whereas before I might, if they say, oh, I'll get to it this week, I might leave it for a month and then be like, hey, you said you get to it. I haven't seen it yet. But now it's like, hey, I don't care if it feels like I'm being a dick. I'm sending a reminder every single day until it gets paid.
It's a business.
Yeah, exactly.
I like it.
Exactly. And that's where, you think about it like, oh, they probably think I'm a dick. But really, when they get those reminders, they're probably like not thinking, oh, this guy's a dick. They're probably thinking, oh, shit, I got to get this paid, or I look bad for not paying this. So that's the mindset That's the mindset shift you have to have, that you're not a dick. They're probably just embarrassed that they haven't paid it yet.
Yeah. It's shifting your mindset to see how they're viewing it. And maybe it's different than how you might think they are.
And it's totally different because I sent a different invoice to a different client, which great relationship with. And I said, hey, we shot the project yesterday. We didn't have the first 50% paid, but we know we're on a tight timeline, so we let it slide, but we need to get that paid. And they right away were like, hey, it has to go through accounting in the payables department. Usually they do that every 2 weeks. So, you're going to get it next week. I'm sorry about the delay. She said, if that doesn't work, we can figure it out sooner. And I said, nope, that's totally fine. As long as you let me know, like, you guys have a process that you only do check runs every 2 weeks, whatever it is, that makes sense. But if you're like, I'll get it paid this week, and then I don't hear from you, and I don't hear from you, and I don't hear from you, I'm going to be knocking at that door, maybe busting down that door.
Yeah.
So
it's framing.
Yeah. But other than that, that's kind of all the updates I got. Tyler, what do you got rocking on your end?
I got a lot of YouTube stuff going on. I'm currently working on 4 different videos at once. It's a lot, but and then that just comes into prioritization. It's because it's like, I'm only putting out 1 per week. So it's like, okay, which one am I working on that I need to get done and edit? And then it's like, okay, let's focus on that one. But at the same time, other stuff comes up that I need to film in the background, because like there's one video that's probably going to be done in probably maybe a month or so, but I'm still filming the stuff right now. And it's like, I need to prepare in advance for all that stuff. So it's just a lot of stuff that I'm working on at once. And it's pretty interesting because, and it's funny because like I always like talk to you and it's like, yeah, you got any ideas? And now I got like 4 that I'm working on at once, and I haven't bugged you in a good week or 2 about that.
So I like to hear, usually it's a mastermind. It's like, let's talk about some YouTube ideas. And I'm like, let's fucking end this call right now. Is what I want to say. But no, it's good. You got some ideas.
Can always use some more ideas.
Got to have a brainstorming sesh.
Yeah, I guess so. That's one thing that I could do. And then I'm also at, for eligibility, I'm almost at 3K watch hours. And it's like the first stage of eligibility. And I'm not really sure what it gets me. But what I think it gets me is like the memberships, where I don't know if you've seen it on YouTube, where you can pay to become a member, and that's how you can like support them. And it's maybe similar to like a Patreon.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll use that or anything, but I don't see the benefit in it. I think all it does is show that you support that channel, and then you get like a badge.
Yeah, I
don't
think
know.
it's.
Am I wrong?
That's what I take it to be. I'll throw this guy $5 a month or $10 a month, whatever it is. I don't know if there's a way. I haven't even looked into it. If there's a way to be able to set up that your members get extra content. I'm sure there is, like a Patreon similar format. But maybe it's just, hey, I support this creator. I'm a member of their channel. Really like what they're doing, and I want to help out any way I can.
Yeah, that's all I thought it was, but maybe there is more to it. But yeah, that's where I'm almost there.
It's 3,000. What's 4,000 hours, or did they change it?
4,000 is like the full eligibility,
Okay.
where you can get monetized. And I think they just made it into like different stages. And then they also changed the community tabs. So I don't know if you ever used it. You probably didn't, just because it used to be 1,000, where you could post, I guess you could call it like
photos and
Yeah. So they changed that to 500. I haven't used it. I don't know if you've ever used it, but yeah, they changed that to 500. I think they just tried to make it more inclusive. So it's like, it makes it easier to make money, I guess.
Yeah.
The hardest part, man, just those watch hours, because you got to make videos that people actually want to watch. And it's like, that's the hardest part.
It's volume, plus it has to be good videos where, you can't put 4,000 videos out and have 1 hour per video.
3 total views.
You know what I mean? It's like, that's one of the hardest things to get. I know when I was heavy into YouTube, which I've been slacking on, obviously, that was one of the things. I'm like, 4,000 watch hours. That's a lot. But yeah, glad you're getting there. You're almost there. You're going to be monetized before we know it, Tyler.
Yeah, I think a while ago, so my marathon video was taking off, and what I think happened is it's seasonal, and I think it was close to the New York Marathon. YouTube started pushing it because people were starting to watch a lot of videos because of New York, Chicago, like those big marathons. So a lot of people were starting to look up marathon type videos. And during the winter, not a lot of people are looking at that because it's wintertime. How are you going to run outside? They aren't really thinking about marathons. So I'm thinking that video is more seasonal, which is really interesting. And this was like a mastermind topic I wanted to go over, is trying to come up with more seasonal type of videos where what would people want to watch during the winter?
Yeah.
But yeah, when I was spiking for that marathon video, I was like, okay, if this projection stays at this level, I'm going to be monetized by this date. And that date is going to get pushed back because, unless I already passed it, because it ended up dropping. And I think because of the seasonality to it or whatever it might be, YouTube just stopped pushing it. So yeah, it's going to take a little bit longer than I anticipated to get to 4,000.
Hey, that's all right though. If it takes a little bit longer, but you still get it done, it's better than, I wish it was in a year and then it didn't happen. Now it'll never happen.
Yeah.
So it's always that long game.
It's all about the process.
Exactly. Just got to enjoy the making of those 4 videos simultaneously.
Exactly. It's a lot, but the last thing for me, we were supposed to film yesterday, and the video might end up getting delayed being put out or podcast might end up being delayed being put out because we're filming on Sunday and it takes like 10 hours for me to upload the clips and everything. So yeah, yesterday I had a huge ride. I was thinking it was only going to be like 2 to 3 hours, hopefully. And then I would come back and then and I wouldn't be tired. And then the ride ended up taking over 4 hours. And I'm like, damn, this took a lot longer than I expected. And it's not like it was like right outside here. It was a 45-minute drive out. So that took a little bit extra time too. And then it was like, I had to do a Costco run. And so we had to push the podcast back a day, unfortunately. And that's on me. But yeah, huge ride yesterday. That was a big one.
Yeah, and that's all right. I was getting later into the day yesterday, which I kind of figured the ride was going a little bit longer, especially after I saw your Instagram story that it was long as fuck. So I was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, I was getting to supper time and I was like, I have no problems filming on Sunday. And it might be a couple hours delayed on the release of this episode, but we know that all of you guys love us and enjoy that we put these out no matter what. So if you got to wait a couple hours, get mad at Tyler, not me.
We do our best. Yeah. But I accept full responsibility for that.
Yeah. How was it though? Because I know you rode a lot. Was it like 60 miles? And your Ironman's 100
Yeah.
and some?
Yeah, it was rough, man. It was the climb. So I went with a couple buddies, met up with them, and it's just a constant gradual uphill battle for I think it took me about 3 to 3.5, maybe not 3.5, but about 3 hours and 15 minutes to climb up. And that's just brutal. It was 6,800 feet of elevation, and my Ironman is only 6,000 feet of elevation. So it's a little bit different there. And it's also over a 1,200 or not 1,200, 112 mile course. So I did more of the elevation in a shorter distance.
Yeah.
So that's the good news about that. But yeah, I met up with a couple buddies. First 30-ish minutes was just like an easy aerobic, and that was fine. And then he had a couple working segments, and that's when it started to get real tough. I was able to keep up for the first segment, and I was just sweating buckets. And then we took a little break, and then we went back into another segment, which was a harder segment, and they dropped me like right away. The one guy, he's insanely good at uphill biking. So it's weird. Like your body weight takes into consideration so much. So he could be putting out a lot less effort and go faster than the other guy because the other guy weighs more and the other guy will be putting in more effort. And it's just like the weight distribution. So it's like harder for him to move up a hill. The other guy, he weighs like $140. So he just flies up the mountain.
Blown up the hill.
It's crazy. Right? So yeah, he just cooked. And then the other guy, yeah, I got dropped right away in the second segment. But yeah, those were really tough segments. But it was a really fun ride, great views. It was a fun ride. And then the way down is so much fun. It's just flying down.
Probably wasn't that tough. You're like downhill. Let's go.
No. I barely pedaled on the way down. That's how fast I was going. Like I was going between so I looked at my averages and it does it over like a 5-mile split. And like the last 15 to 20 miles, I was averaging over 30 miles per hour on my descent. And then my max speed was 46 miles per hour. So that was,
46 mile an hour on a bike. Yeah. That's, God, all I can think about is if you fell. Fuck, would that hurt?
Man, that's the only crappy part about like the descent. It's like you got all these amazing views, but you're just so focused on the road that you don't crash. You're like, don't crash. And then you're trying to avoid any like cracks or potholes in the road. Exactly. So it's like, but the descent was so much fun. I definitely averaged over 30 miles per hour on the descent, which was really good.
I'd be wearing full goalie gear.
Got the helmet, got the trapper blocker. Yeah, that was the one thing I was worried about. I was like, don't fall. Like for me, they were going faster than me on the descent. So I'm assuming they averaged probably like 35 to 40, where I probably averaged like 30 to 35. But they were cooking. They dropped me so fast, and they were just, I just see them like, boom, boom. They're like, oh, they're gone.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Getting that elevation, I think that'll help you in the long run, half the time,
for sure.
and more elevation. So that'll be good. Tyler, anything else before we get into this week's episode, this topic, this title?
Let's dive right in.
All right. So this week we're going to be talking about automating your business. This topic came up because I'm kind of going through the process right now. My eyes have been opened to the world of automation here in the last 2 weeks. We've been talking about it in our masterminds on how I can really get this rocking and rolling. And honestly, it's something that I wish I knew sooner. So hopefully we can shorten the learning curve for you guys quicker than it took me 5 years to figure out what any of this really meant. So Tyler, do you want to talk about, when we talk about automation of your business, do you want to kind of talk about what we mean, or do you want me to take that?
You take that.
Okay, cool. So automation in our business, we're not talking about, and this is one of my biggest pet peeves, is when people say, oh, your business is automated, it does its thing, and you just sit on the beach, right? And you drink Mai Tais and you make a shit ton of money. That's not what we're talking about. Of course, there are situations like that where that might happen. Maybe you have a product-based business where in the background, you're just ripping through products and selling and you don't have to work.
Drop shipping.
Yeah. But no, we're not talking about those automated businesses where the whole entire thing is automated. We're talking about businesses you're still hands-on in. So a business like Tyler and mine's, where you can automate some of the processes to streamline the efficiency of the business and to better utilize the time that you have. So some of these areas we're talking about is processes. That's probably the biggest one. Maybe some documents, some communication with clients or communication with your team internally. Maybe some marketing, whether you're doing email campaigns. So that's really what we're talking about automation wise. And Tyler, I think we talked about this last week, or maybe it was the mastermind. I get them mixed up, but the 4 steps that you should go through when thinking about a task. Did we talk about that last week?
Yes.
Okay. And I'll cover it again, just in case you guys didn't listen last week, but the thing you want to go through and what you want to look at is the first thing you want to do is eliminate. If you have a task, you want to eliminate it. If you can't eliminate that task, you then want to automate the task. If you can't automate the task, you then want to delegate the task to somebody else. And if you can't delegate the task, then that's when you do the task yourself. So that's kind of what we're going to be talking about today is those middle 2 where you can automate those processes or delegate the processes, because those are things that I'm learning while going through my own automations is that, I'm not really eliminating tasks and I'm not really doing tasks, but I am delegating and automating. So that is a lot of talking that I've done. Tyler, anything else you want to add as far as what we're going to be talking about today?
Not really. When you brought this topic up, I assumed, and I still assume, that there's not much that I typically automate. So I think this is going to be heavily leaned on you. But when you were talking there, it really made me think there is a few other things that I didn't think about before. Because I know for Nuevo, we got quite a few automated email campaigns. There's like one on the abandoned cart campaign. So obviously sending, like, someone goes to checkout and then they get stuff in there and then they hit checkout and then they don't end up purchasing. There's automated follow-up emails. It's like, oh, don't forget your order. Oh, don't forget. And then I know that's a lot with online businesses. Like, you'll do that a lot. And I know some people will be like, I'm going to go to checkout just to see if I get that, because I know a lot of businesses, they'll be like, oh, don't forget your order. Here's 10% to help purchase it. So it's like to nudge them along. So I know there's those. And then the only other areas, I don't know if this counts, but the way you were talking about it is just templatizing different stuff.
Yep.
And then that's one thing that I do quite a bit at the 9 to 5, like in Asana. There's a lot of stuff that I guess I would say, quote unquote, automate. You can templatize tasks in there. And then also you can set recurring tasks, which also helps a lot, where you don't have to think about it. It's like, okay, once I do this task this week, it's going to get, once I check it off, it's going to reassign it to myself for the next week. So I don't got to think about that. I don't got to recreate the task. It's just something that's just always there. And it's just easily to be able to do that stuff. So the more you talk about it, there's like, okay, I guess I do automate some stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And maybe let's start there at the templatization. I don't know if that's a word, but it is now. Using templates, because I wouldn't say that's a 1-to-1, 100% automation, like you said, Tyler, but it is a shortening of your time and your tasks. So let's start with templates, and then we'll get into the deeper automation stuff. So like you said, templates is a big thing that I have, whether it's a call sheet for a project, contracts, invoices, shot lists, question lists. All of those are templates where it's not directly it's not automized. What would be the word? Automated. Automized. It's not directly automated where if a client starts, the question list doesn't populate itself based on that client. But I have the template and everything ready to be able to send that over to the client. So I think a good step, if you're not ready to really dive into the automation world, is to at least start creating some templates. Tyler, are there any specific templates that you have for your business?
Well, now that you sent it to me, I'm going to start using it. The pitch deck. Pitch deck is a good one to start at, where you just it's basically all laid out, and then it's just customizing the packages to each person or each company that you potentially work with. It's like, okay, here's about us, here's this, here's that, here's this, here's the 3 different pitches, and then you just input different what the client is asking for. So that's going to be one that's templatized. Another one is a lot of the tasks. So what I've created for my one thing that I do at work, I guess, I don't know, Should I go work or should I go personal?
Either or.
Let's go with work. So a lot of the stuff that we do is a recurring. It's a monthly deliverable, and we do it every single month. So what we end up doing is we create all those tasks, and then we just templatize it. And then it's like, okay, each month, now I just got to recreate those tasks. It's like, okay, here it is. And then it includes all the information that we set with it beforehand. So it just makes it really easy. Each month that a new month comes up, we just take those templates, plug them in, and it's like, okay, we got to do this, and this. And it's already done for us and laid out. Usually we'll just rename it and then we're all set.
Yeah. And even doing that saves so much time. And if you're not doing this,
it's like front loading.
Yeah. If you're running a business right now and you're not doing this stuff, like if you're creating tasks manually every single time, or you're creating documents without the templates, I'd say it's one of the most crucial steps that you should take almost immediately is get this stuff ready. Even if it's just, document templates that you put in a folder and you can open that folder and copy and paste to create a new one. That's a good start. But if you're not, you're wasting literally so much time.
Yeah. And I'm assuming, I think you briefly showed this, but I have a client and they have like life cycle stages for their customers. And whenever they hit a certain aspect in it, they'll get an automated email. So it's like, okay, design agreement. They're in a design agreement. Now they get the design agreement email, gets sent to them. And then when it gets to the next stage and they get more automated emails, and I'm pretty sure you have this set up where I think yours is less automated. It's more of a template and then you customize it, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, it was definitely before the last 2 weeks. But now that this is kind of how this episode got sparked, is that I am creating these workflows inside of VidLead now that does all of that. So, one example of an automation I just put together is a form for my website. So any business you go to, I'm sure you've seen where you can go fill out a form. You can put your name in there. You can tell them what your project is about. You put your email in there and then they'll reach out to you. So the one I just created yesterday, you fill out the form. Once you fill out the form, I'm actually going to pull it up so you know exactly the step-by-step automation that it's going through. Because really, I knew nothing about these automations. Once I started doing them, I'm like, how on earth have I ever overlooked this? So it all starts with a trigger on these automations. So that would be your website being submitted. And then it goes into a condition. So on these forms, it has a drop-down box of their budget. So 2,500 to 5,000, 5,000 to 10,000, and 10,000 plus. And then depending on whatever they answer in that column, it will create a new workflow. And all of them are pretty much the same. It just organizes on my back end, but it's going to create an opportunity which adds that client to the production pipeline so you can see exactly where they're at. It's then going to send an internal notification to me, or I can set it to send it to a sales team member and say, hey, so-and-so, Tyler Sinnen just submitted a form on your website for a budget of $5,000. Here's the project description, and it leaves the project description in there. And that's just a reminder to call that person or reach out to that person to be able to book a discovery call to figure out what their project is about. Then it waits about 5 minutes and it sends a text message to the person that filled out the form and says, hey, someone on our team just got your form. They'll reach out to you soon. So that is one automation that I've set up where if you go on the website, you fill out a form, it's automatically going to send me a text of who just filled out the form.
I want to test this out.
I'm going to have you test out all of these, actually. I was having Shay to test them out, but I want to stress test them before I actually publish all of them. But that is just one thing I set up where if you fill out a form, automatically that then adds it to our back end where you are now in our new client pipeline where it'll go into first touch received that you filled out a form on the website, and we can now push you through the workflow. So that's just one example of a workflow or an automation that you can set up. I've also set up another one that's once this client gets added to the production pipeline, it is then going to split them into whatever their outcome is. So let's say you have a call with the client, they request a proposal, If they request a proposal, it then sends them down a workflow of texting one of the team members, which at this point would be Matt, texting Matt and saying, hey, draft a proposal, send this over to so-and-so. If the lead is lost, if you figure out you get on the call, this job isn't going to work, it automatically sends them into an email campaign that you can send them valuable content. If the lead is won, it automatically books them as a one client and then moves them to the production pipeline, which then triggers them to send a welcome email. Hey, welcome to Bennett Creative Media. Fill out this onboarding form. The onboarding form then triggers that once they put in their birthday, it adds it onto a list of here's all the client birthdays so that I can send clients birthday messages or birthday gifts or whatever it might be. So it's super cool to see this web of every single thing that triggers another thing to happen to automate this whole entire communication process. So it was overwhelming at first for sure, but now that I'm diving into it, it's probably the most excited I've been about a business aspect in a while.
What was the last thing you were excited about? Do you remember?
No, I don't. I can't remember. I know it was exciting when I first redid my website. Redoing a website's always fun. As far as production stuff goes, I mean, it's always fun to create new templates. When I first created the call sheet was exciting, which seems like minimal stuff, but yeah, this feels more so like, hey, you're now running a business where things are happening, rather than, oh, you're just a freelancer that shoots videos.
So you think the automations make you a real business?
No, but it feels like there's more stuff going on where this will automatically send a text to Matt saying, hey, so-and-so just filled out a form, give them a call. So then he can go sell the project and I can still work on my stuff. I can get a text message that said, okay, Matt sent out the proposal. You now need to do X, Y, Z. I can send out a task to an editor. If we have an editor that's prepping footage, you can send them, okay, so-and-so just got moved to this stage in the pipeline. You need to edit this footage. So it almost feels like a more well-oiled machine now that these things are set up, rather than me just texting and saying, hey, we should call this person, then texting over here, hey, we should do this. I know it's not like, hey, I'm now running this well-oiled giant business conglomerate, but it does feel more so businessy rather than jobby, quote unquote.
He's not quarterbacky enough.
Exactly. I'm quarterbacking the ship now.
I don't want to get ahead. I don't know if it is in the notes, but do you think there's a point when you're dehumanizing everything? Or do you think a lot of this stuff, would you say is necessary or recommended, or what would you say?
So I do have that in the notes a little bit, and let's just skip right to it because that's one of the things I wanted to touch on is you asked the question on the notes here, Tyler, should you even automate? And it's a good question. Yeah. I think, yes, you should definitely automate, but don't get carried away because there's still a lot of power in personalization. You're going to close a lot more jobs being more personalized. You're going to build better relationships when you're personalized. But right now, for me, and maybe in the future for other people, the menial tasks that don't really matter, that take up, 5 minutes here, take up 10 minutes here, 15 minutes here, those things I think can be automated. So they might be general updates on the project where after a client gets moved from shoot the project into the editing pipeline stage where now you guys have dumped the footage, that'll automatically send an email out that says, hey, so-and-so, so happy the shoot went well yesterday. Just wanted to let you know the footage is now in the hands of our editor. So that's just a general update email. That's good. Whereas that might be something I would forget to send. So that nurtures that relationship a little bit more that you're giving them an update. Maybe it's, you can automate an email that's providing value. So if you throw someone into a drip campaign or a marketing newsletter, whatever it might be, that's not stuff that necessarily needs to be personalized. Maybe I'm sending out, hey, saw this cool article on vertical video, thought you might like it. Where I don't really need to personalize that a ton. Again, it helps if you're like, hey, I saw this video on heavy machinery that ties directly to your heavy machinery business. That'll help. But for now, I think it's good. It also helps for internal notifications. Like I mentioned earlier, if I need to send a text to Matt, I'd rather, instead of going out of my way to grab my phone, text Matt. When someone fills out a form, if we can automate it, that it automatically texts Matt or someone from the sales team or your team that, hey, this just happened, you need to do this. Awesome. That takes out one more step for me. Back end processes. If I have someone that signs a contract and that automatically moves them into the production thing and sends them a welcome email, that saves 10 to 15 minutes on my end. So I personally want to use it for menial tasks that are taking up 10 minutes here, 20 minutes there. That can cut it down to maybe 2 minutes. That's going to free up a lot of time, but I don't want to get too carried away with it where the personalization, you're losing that aspect. Like if you're delivering a video and you just send it, hey, here's your video, and then it sends off. Those you might want to say, hey, Tyler, we just finished your video. Just wanted to give you some information on the video. You know, we still need to add the graphic, whatever it might be. I don't want to lose that touch of personalization, but I think it's important to automate when it is menial tasks that you're doing over and over and over, and they're very repetitive.
Yeah, I have a question, but I also thought of one thing that I do like, the aspect of it where maybe you have this funnel or whatever it might be, a timeline of their project. And then I like the touch point with the client, and it's like, okay, check that off. And then once it gets to, say, the editor, it's like your project's now being edited, and then it's getting sent to the client, and then the client gets that update. I like the touch point with them because they're like, oh, cool, it's moving along. And then it's like, maybe it's like once the edit's done, it's like we're moving into final revisions, and then it's like another touch point, and you're just keeping up with the client, and you're just keeping them having you in mind. But the question I had that came up, do you think it would be beneficial, or there would be any benefit to it, adding in the automated emails, just a little spot that said automated email?
Adding it to when it gets sent out that, hey, this is an automated email?
Yeah. Do you think there would be any benefit to that where they would be able to differentiate it when it's like personalized versus automated? It's like, this is part of the flow, or this is part of like, and then when they see it's not actually automated, it's like a little bit of a quote unquote transparency. Because I know when you do receive all these automated emails, you're like, oh, it's just an automated email. And then it's tough to tell when it is, when it's not. But if you actually label it, you have that transparent aspect with it. And it's like, okay, this is automated. And then you receive another one that doesn't have that automated email tag on it, and then they're like, oh, this is actually from a human, and it makes it a little bit more personal. I don't know, it's just a thought that I had.
I go back and forth on it. I think it could definitely be good to add it on there for the transparency aspect, but the way this is set up, one, you can't really tell the difference if it's automated or from a human. So that is nice if, you know, on here, if they reply to one of those automated emails, it automatically shows up on here that we got the message, and we can reply right from the back end software. So I don't think you want to eliminate the communication aspect where, like you said, if you do put this is an automated email, no one responds to those. I think leaving the door open is good. If we say, hey, we just sent the project over to the editor, just wanted to give you a heads up, they can respond back to that, say, awesome, we're so excited. Also, we wanted to make sure on the edit that blah, blah, blah. Maybe that gives them an opportunity to respond. But I do go back and forth. It's good to be transparent. Yeah. I just feel like the automation takes out, like, no one wants to respond.
Well, what happens if you have a client and maybe you've done like 5, 10 project with them, and they're receiving that exact same email over and over and over and over again?
Yeah. And
that's where, get what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's where I'm 50-50 on it, because I could definitely see that happening where it's like, they keep getting the same thing. But maybe they understand that, okay, we've gotten this email, it's just automated once they move it into the editing aspect.
See, I just think if you do have that transparency aspect, and then they receive these other emails that don't have that this is automated, then they're like, oh, cool, I'm actually speaking with Easton right now. It's like, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Just a thought
I go back and forth. I'll have to think about that a little bit more, because I do agree with you. You know, it's if you do a project 5 times and they get the same email, hey, we're sending it over to our editor.
Yep.
And maybe that's something only we notice and they don't. Because if you do a project here and then you do a project 4 months from now, are they really going to know that it's word for word the same? Who knows?
Right.
But yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
All right. So we kind of touched on, the automation side of things. Another question we wanted to touch on was, how do you know what to automate? And this was one of the big questions I had when I was starting to do this. And we talked about it on the mastermind is, well, what do? We went through 40 minutes of talking about what would be some good things to automate. And there's 2 parts I want to touch on this. The first is you'll start to realize it once you do it. Because as I'm going through the first workflow, I realized, it'd be cool if this triggered for this action to happen. So I think it's kind of like when you're creating ideas, the more ideas you create, the more ideas come to you. It's that same philosophy that the more you're actually adding these workflows, the more you think of, okay, that'd be cool if that actually triggered for this also to happen on the side over here. The second thing I wanted to mention when I was going through the whole automation process is you really need to look for those bottlenecks. What are those tasks that are taking up 10 to 15 minutes here that you feel like you're doing repetitively? You do them all the time. It's the same task. Maybe it's an invoice where, okay, I have to type the client in here. I have to then create what the project is, put the price in, type out the email of what this invoice is going to say, and then I have to send the email. That might take you 10, 15 minutes. Whereas if you can set it up to auto-populate based on their opportunity card or whatever it is, like, hey, this is the project, this is how much it's worth. If that auto-populates into an invoice and then sends once you get to a certain point in the timeline, that saves you 10, 15 minutes. So finding those bottlenecks, what are those tasks? And maybe it's a brainstorming session where you sit down and you write down all of the menial tasks that you're doing all the time that are just very repetitive, and then figure out a way to automate those. Do you have any other advice, Tyler, on how to know what to automate? Because I know that was something in the beginning.
I think it just comes back to your time, because that's what you're ultimately doing. You're trying to buy back your time and automate stuff that, can be automated. And I think that's where you want to focus. It's like, okay, what do you do a lot, and what can you templatize? What can you do that's going to free up your time in the future? It might cost you a little bit of time right now, but what's going to come back in the future, and then it's going to be cost saving in the future as opposed to time. So I think that's kind of where you look at it. It's like, okay, what am I doing a lot that I could make it easier? And then I think you just go from there. And I think that's what I've done, is because I think you do still want to have like that personal aspect to it. And that's one thing Andy always talks about, is the values and the inefficiencies. That's one thing he'll say a lot. So I think that's where a lot of these, he hates AI and he hates like all that stuff. He's like, I want you to speak to a real human. And that's like one thing he preaches. If you're on chat or whatever it is, you're going to get like the best customer service, and you're going to get a real person. You're not going to get something that's automated. So I think it's just, for me personally, it's just a lot of like, I like workflows and all that fun stuff, because it just makes it really easy. And then you can just create like workflows, and then it's like, okay, how can we improve and optimize here? But for me currently, it's just a lot of templates that can help free up my time in the future.
For sure. And that's, I think, is the number one way to start, is those templates. And then you can move into the automation. Because like you said, I don't want to take away that personal aspect. One of my biggest pet peeves is when you go onto the chat support and you're trying to get answers on a software or website, and they send you through, oh, here's our FAQs. Oh, here's this robot that can answer your questions. I'm like, no, I want a real person that can understand what I'm asking. You definitely, you don't want to lose out on that personal aspect.
I think that's one area that a lot of people might not be used to, because I have all my clients on HubSpot, and there's a HubSpot chat that you can use, and you get to speak to a live agent. And a lot of clients will ask, hey, can you help me out with this? And it's like, this is something really easy that you could just ask HubSpot chat, but I just don't think they're used to it, because it's all automated. Whenever you log on to a website now, you get that pop up on the bottom right where it's like, speak to a live agent now. And it's all automated text. And it's like, I think people got numb to it. So
yeah. And if you can find a way for that to be a live agent, it's really awesome. Because let's say, you go to a car dealership or something and it pops up on the bottom, let us help you buy your vehicle, whatever, on the bottom right. It's the same face every time, same face with the same name. It's like, okay, is this person working 24/7 and they're the only person that answers any question from anybody, or they're real people? So I do like the ones that say, speak with an agent, and then a live agent pops up and you can have a conversation with them. That really does help. But getting back, we're getting a little bit off topic. Let's get back into the automation side of things. Another question we had is, when do you automate? And we'll both answer this one, Tyler, because I'm curious on your thoughts on it. But I personally think you should automate as soon as you can. Any of these menial tasks that's taking up your time, start doing it. If I had known that these automations, or put some time and effort into them a year, 2, 3 years ago, I maybe am in a different spot now. So it's good that I'm learning them now, but maybe it would have been awesome to have them sooner. What do you think, Tyler?
I feel like I just answered that with what I was saying, is just trying to find that stuff that you do a lot and just templatize it. But I would agree with you to just do it as soon as possible with like all that stuff that you do. Maybe not, I don't know, because then at the same time you get to change it up, but I guess you can change it up later down the road. But yeah, I would say as soon as possible, because then it frees up your time in the future.
Yeah. And when we say as soon as possible, there is one caveat. I think you have to have actual processes in your flow that you go through with a client or an internal process to actually automate. Because if you're just starting your business and you don't even know how you work with clients, you've never sent an invoice before, you've never sent a contract before, that's not the time to worry about how can I automate these processes so I don't have to deal with the client. It is good in the beginning to actually go through the process, see what works, see what doesn't work, see what you want to add, see what you want to stop doing before you automate. So when I say as soon as possible, and I assume Tyler agrees, is you want to at least have, hey, this is the process of how I work with clients. I'm going to get them on a call. I'm going to send them a strategy, a pitch deck. I'm going to get them to sign a contract. I'm going to send them that first invoice. That's a process, right? Me and Tyler both have those processes set up. So make sure you at least know what you're doing in the business, and you've been doing it a little bit before you're like, let's get carried away with automations. And the one thing I was thinking too is when I was setting these up is, what if I need to change something down the road? It's super easy to go in there and switch one or two things. So don't be worried that if you set up this automation, this is exactly how you have to do it for the next 10 years. You can always go in and change it. But getting those automations set up does start to free up some of that time, even if you do have to change it in the future.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Good. Some of the benefits, let's mention. I mean, we've hit on them the whole entire time, this whole episode, but it's really freeing up that free time. Like Tyler said, those menial tasks that you're doing allow more time to focus on high leverage activities, whether it be sales, whether it be actually shooting projects for me or going in meetings, whatever that might be. It's allowing you to have more time to actually do the money making activities. Another thing is speed. I think speed is a huge thing on, contracts used to take me 20 minutes to do. And now if it can just auto populate the name and the cost and the deliverables, and I can send it out in 2 minutes, that makes things way, way faster. And then the last thing I have on the list is if you forget to do something, and this is the biggest thing, there were a lot of times where I'm like, God, it'd be really cool if I could give them updates. Like on, I want to give them an update that, hey, we're working on the project, or we just started coloring the project, so it'll be to you soon. And oftentimes I would forget. I would just get too busy. We'd be working on a project, and you just forget to update people. So just giving updates is awesome for that. And then you can automate that where you don't have to worry about the human brain to remember all of these activities. Tyler, anything you want to add? Some of the benefits of doing this, just to really sell the audience into getting their ass into the automation world.
No, I feel like we just touched on a lot of it. Like, I think it can free up a lot of your time. Obviously, you're going to be front loading it, but in the end, you're just going to be freeing up so much of your time later down the road. It's like, okay, this task used to take me 15 minutes. I do it 3 times a month. Now it takes me 2 minutes. So every time you do it, you gain 13 minutes. And even though maybe it took 2 or 3 hours to front load it, in about a month or two, you're going to have positive ROI on your time there. So I think it just comes back to the time investment.
And what Tyler means by front load is you're doing all of the work up front. So right now, setting up all the automations, the workflows is taking time. It's taking, hours up front to get everything ready and to test everything to make sure it works for your clients. That's what it means by front loading. But like you said, in the end, it's going to save you that time, even though it does take a little bit more time up front.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler, anything else you want to add on automating your business? I know it's been a very eye-opening process for me here in the last couple of weeks. Super awesome. I don't know how I didn't know about this before. I feel like an idiot, but
yeah, I feel like when you started talking about it, I realized that I do automate a bit more than I originally thought. And I do think it is beneficial for certain things, but I also do think that there are some things that are better off not automated.
Yeah. Don't get too carried away with it, because it's definitely a possibility. If you got so many things automated, it's like, is Easton even in this business anymore? That's when it gets a little crazy. But if it can be your crutch and save you a little bit of time here and there, it's definitely worth it.
Dehumanizing the business.
Yeah, make it a robot AI business. Let's get into this week's business idea. I was thinking about this actually this weekend. So all of the automations workflows I've been doing right here on this nice, lovely laptop that I have. And usually I do the desktop, but on the weekends I like to sit on the couch and work. So we got the laptop, and it's a brand new laptop, so it doesn't die super fast. It'll stay on for 30 hours, whatever. But when I do need to charge it, like right now it's at 20%. It'd be cool if it was more. Not that that's bad. I was charging before the show, but it'd be cool. And maybe this is an Apple product that comes out in 20 years, but imagine something called the Air Charge, where I don't need to have an actual cable plugged into the wall into my computer. I don't know how that technology works. I can't even wrap my mind around Bluetooth. So if you could somehow get electricity through the air into my computer, that would be kind of crazy. But this might be the most undoable business idea we've ever had on the show. But maybe if you're within a 10-foot radius of wherever your Bluetooth charger is plugged into the wall, it'll automatically charge your computer no matter where you're at, and you don't have to have a cord plugged in. What do you think?
It's electric.
That'd be nice, eh?
The only thing that I would say is, I don't know. I feel like there is some validity to this, but people are scared of Bluetooth as it is because of the issues that it has with the, I don't know, radio transmission, whatever. I don't know that stuff. So this seems like it would just be Bluetooth on steroids. And I don't think you're going to be wanting patients. To be right. You're not going to be wanting to spend much time in that location where you're transmitting all that energy in the air. And then it's like, okay, now we can't have kids. I
could definitely see an issue there for sure. But it's not going to be me. This is not a business idea I'll ever try, but I'm sure Apple will give it a shot at some point. Even if it's, some sort of thing I have to plug into my computer that I can magnetize to the back of it. I don't know. It doesn't have to charge it directly, but
that seems a lot more doable, because there are the phone chargers where you just like place your phone on top of it, and you don't need to plug it in anymore. So I think it could be like a portable charger that just touches your laptop in whatever way.
Yeah. That would probably be the first step, is if you had, like, you could plug your phone into that portable charger. If I could plug it into the side of my laptop and maybe it's stuck out an inch, whatever it might be, and I could charge it quick, that would be nice. But the Air would be cool. If I could just walk around, if I'm in this corner of my office, my computer starts charging, that'd be sick.
That would be pretty cool.
But
it
definitely
would be a lot of that transmission in the air.
Definitely causes, it might be Chernobyl part 2. That would not be good. Be really bad, actually. Air Charge, definitely make-believe business idea this week. But I was thinking about that earlier. I always sit down, I'm like, God, I wish I didn't have this stupid cable attached to me. Not like it throws a huge problem or a huge wrench in there, but I wanted to be charging my laptop while we were filming, but the cord is plugged in on the right, and to wrap around my knees and then into the left side of my computer, super annoying. And I didn't want to get an extension cord, just throws in too many hassles. So the Air Charge, someone make it for me, please.
Going completely cordless.
Yeah, cordless, baby. It's like a Wise vacuum or a Waze vacuum that I see on TikTok all the time. All right, Tyler, anything else for episode 77? I thought that was a pretty good episode.
I got a random question for you.
All right.
Because I was thinking about this for hair light. Does it matter which side it is on compared to your I don't know, your spotlight?
Your key light. Yep.
Whatever.
So I always try to do the opposite. If the key light's on the left,
Okay.
I put the rim light diagonal on the right side because that's usually the darker side of the head. And honestly, it's one of my biggest pet peeves. If I'm on a set and somebody puts it on the other side, it's like, what you're taking.
Side.
Yeah, the same side. I'm like, you're taking away the point of the hair light because the point of the hair light is that dark side of your head, which is opposite from the light. It's falling into the background. So if you just put a little kisser on it, it's going to make it pop from the background. But if you put it on this side, you're just lighting it. You're lighting it even more. So yeah, it's actually a good question. I wish I could share with the world that it should be on the opposite side. And I'm not a huge backlight guy. Like,
you should create a YouTube video around this.
Yeah, I probably should, and then blast it out to the world. But this right now is my backlight. It's not going to work well because it's not powerful enough. My black hat's going to blend into the black wall. But in a perfect world, we'd have a nice backlight hanging above my head.
Slim Shady.
Yeah. Well, Eminem.
I'm pretty sure I'm usually on the same side, but I guess that's good to know now. And maybe I'll try and keep that in mind to go opposite sides.
Yeah. And honestly, if you're in a well-lit room, you don't really need a backlight because I think if you have a backlight, it starts to look like, okay, this video is produced. So if I'm filming an interview with a client and I want it to look natural, like they're being lit from a window or whatever it might be, a lot of times I'll try to avoid using a backlight at all costs, or I'll stick a light behind them. Like there's this lamp behind me right now. So I would put a backlight that's the same color temperature as this light and have it hit the back of my head. So it looks like that light on the back of my head is coming from that lamp. Otherwise, it's like, okay, well, where's that light coming from? That makes no sense. Because if there's blue light on the back of my head right now, there's no window behind me. It's not coming from this black wall. So it'd be pretty confusing. But yeah, I try to avoid the backlight if I can. It just makes it look. Backlights aren't super natural. If you look around the room, you don't see many backlights on people's heads.
It's fair.
So cool. Anything else, Tyler?
Nope. Thanks for answering.
All right. Oh, you had one more thing, hey?
Nope. My battery just died, but you can continue.
You're going to get blackface from Tyler here for the last 10 seconds. That's episode 77 of The Midnight Entrepreneur. If you have any questions you'd like us to cover or answer, email us at the email we're going to check, themidnightentrepreneur@gmail.com. And if you found value in this content or found this entertaining, share this with a friend or post it on your story. And if you really enjoyed the show, we'd love a rating and a review wherever you're listening. Talk to you guys next week for another episode of The Midnight Entrepreneur.
There's a lot of automation that can happen that isn't a replacement of humans, but of mind-numbing behavior. Stuart Butterfield.